Humans are considered social animals. It's part of our nature to seek other people's companionship and presence. One essential ingredient that helps strengthen our link with others is communication. Perhaps not a day goes by without communicating with others, either through verbal or written forms. Unfortunately, communicating with others does not go successfully all the time. Several factors, like the manner of speaking and the sender and the listener's behaviors, can cause these communication errors. In this book, Thomas Erikson provides us with a method to assess how we communicate with others, thereby helping us improve our communication styles. Here are the top 7 lessons from the book Surrounded by Idiots by Thomas Erikson. Lesson 1. Adapt to the listener's style. Whenever we talk to someone, some of them tend to react to what we're saying even without fully understanding the message. To send our message across, we need to adapt our behavior to the listener's behavioral style. This allows them to focus on what is being said, instead of trying to adjust to how we convey the message to them. For instance, talking to a 3-year-old will be different from talking to our boss or the elderly. Since we communicate with other people all the time, it's expected that how we speak to each of them will also vary. It is then crucial that we know the person's core behaviors to adjust our communication style accordingly. Lesson 2. Assess core behavior using DISA. Core behaviors refer to acting without any external influence and are based on our values and attitudes. Erikson suggests the DISA model in assessing different types of behavior, which stands for dominance, inspiration, stability, and analytic ability. In this model, behavior is categorized into 2 dimensions: task-oriented versus relation-oriented, and introvert versus extrovert behavior. People who are both extroverts and task-oriented tend to speak their minds and prioritize speed and efficiency. They are categorized as having red behavior and exhibit clear and specific body language. The second type of behavior is yellow, representing extroverts who are relation-oriented. They are usually highly persuasive, using expressive gestures, friendly eye contact, and relaxed body language. Introverts who are relation-oriented have the so-called green behavior. They are generally calm, friendly, and more tolerant of another person's behavior. They are less direct and upfront, and tend to talk softly and slowly. Lastly is the blue behavior, who are more analytical and detail-oriented. They are task-oriented introverts who prefer distance and tend to speak without gestures. Knowing the core behavior of the person we're talking to will help us communicate more effectively. Lesson 3. Watch out for challenging combinations. Adjusting to other people's behavior is easier if we only deal with one specific type. However, this is not always the case, as there are instances when we have to communicate with a team that possesses varied behaviors. There are some expected combinations, such as a team with both blue and green behaviors, or a combination of red and yellow, since each pair has natural synergies. What is challenging is to have a team with opposite behavior types like red and green. Reds tend to be direct, while the greens are passive, thus frustrating both parties. The most challenging combination is blue and yellow, wherein the former tends to focus on detail, while the latter is naturally talkative quietly. It may take a while for us to determine the behavior type of others, so it is best to listen and observe them first. Lesson 4. Give clear feedback. Aside from adjusting how we deliver a message based on their behavior types, we also have to make sure that how we give feedback to them is also based on their personality. For example, when providing feedback to Reds, we have to stick to the facts and be honest and direct, without sugarcoating feedback even if it is negative. On the other hand, since the Yellows are relation-oriented, we need to clarify to them that the feedback we're providing is not personal, and is more of a professional comment about their behavior only. Adjusting how we provide feedback can help make sure that the receiver openly accepts them. Lesson 5. Know how they respond to stress. Stress is one factor that can block the effective flow of communication. Thus, it will also be helpful to know what makes the person stressed and how they respond to it to adjust accordingly. For example, the Reds usually get stressed when they feel their authority is taken away or commit mistakes. As a result, they work even harder or release their guilt through scapegoats. On the other hand, the Yellows feel stressed when they feel isolated from the group or when they are humiliated publicly. Whenever this happens, they tend to seek more attention. Lack of private space, sudden changes, and being in the spotlight are some of the things that the Greens stress about. These situations make them feel uncertain and insecure, which they express in cold and closed body language. Lastly, the Blues feel stressed when making spontaneous or risky decisions. As a result, they tend to show pessimism and slow down to avoid making mistakes. Lesson 6. Clear misconceptions. We may not know all our colleagues really well at work, leading to stereotypes or assumptions about them. Thus, knowing the different behavior types will help us clear any misconceptions. For instance, we tend to assume that those who are quiet, just like the Blues and Greens, do not have ideas or are the weird ones. This assumption may make the louder ones like the Reds and Yellows think negatively about them. Having these misconceptions about each one in the group can create an atmosphere of distrust and conflict, which is not helpful. Thus, we need to be more understanding of each other's tendencies and behavior types to remove all negative impressions and foster a healthy and positive group environment. Lesson 7. End on the same page. In ending the conversation with someone or a meeting with a group of people, we need to make sure that everyone understands what has been discussed. For instance, it is a good practice to agree on what has transpired in the meeting and the following steps to take. Doing so can help clear any misunderstanding and remind those who easily forget or those who are not listening attentively during the meeting. Thus, it would be better to have the minutes and agreements made during important meetings and discussions written down for everyone's guide. In conclusion, this book is a helpful guide in dealing with other people effectively. This book's practical tips are handy for anyone who wants to build more stable and lasting relationships with others. Indeed, it's easy to assume that communication is disrupted or groups do not work well because we are surrounded by idiots. However, when we take time to know people's behavior types, we become more understanding, allowing us to communicate more effectively. What is your behavior type? Tell me in the comments. Thank you for listening. If you like the book summary and you want to see more in this category, please like and subscribe so I can create more. You can also get a free copy of the entire audiobook by clicking the link in the description. Until next time.